Well, welcome along, everyone, to a very special edition of the SBK Betting Podcast. The dust has settled on a scintillating renewal of British Champions Day, where we witnessed some exceptional horse races. We crowned the champion jockey and bid farewell to some equine superstars. And the weekend firmly marked the end of one season and the true start of the National Hunt season. And with the first Cheltenham meeting eking ever closer, we're very much in the realm of getting our heads firmly back into the jumping game, and there is just no better person to help guide us through what we can look forward to this jump season than a man who spends pretty much the entire flat season thinking about this time of year. His Jumpers to Follow guide is an essential tool for all racing fans, and now it's in its 15th year. It's become a complete must-have for me, for all racing fans, and all areas are covered. Leading prospects, a view from some of the National Hunt top jockeys, a point-to-point section, and of course, an essential 12-page dedicated guide to courses across the sea. And so without further ado, I'm thrilled to be joined today by none other than Paul Ferguson. Welcome along, Paul. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, Jess. An absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We'll get cracking into the leading prospects that you've whittled down. Obviously, there are 40 in the pages, both from Ireland and from the UK. I've noticed that the majority are unexposed. They fall under the sort of novice chase, novice hurdler categories. How hard is it to whittle down such a small number? And what is it that these horses in general have to show you that they warrant a place in this list?
Bumpers is a bit of a hot topic at the moment. I know last week I've seen people saying that they did like to get rid of them off some of the cards and reduce the amount that we see to make them more competitive. For me, the breeding ground for their future. I think they're an essential part of National Hunt racing. Gives them an opportunity to go racing before some of them will have to come against flat horses and things and X points and stuff in their first season over hurdles. So the fact that they're able to go to the course and gain a bit of experience, even pre-race, going obviously travelling and being in a paddock beforehand, I think is essential. In terms of the race themselves, I'm a sucker for a horse who travels strongly through her race, be it at whatever level, but certainly in a bumper, a horse who can travel well is something that I like to see, certainly. And I do like to focus. Obviously, there's some graded winners in there among the leading prospects already from last year, but to try and avoid the obvious. Obviously, we include a couple that are hard to knock off the list, but looking for just something a little bit outside the box, and just you get a bit of pleasure out of if you can nominate a horse at the early stage after running one bumper, and then a couple of years later they develop into a Grade 1 horse. There's a little bit of satisfaction in that. Yeah,
I can imagine, and I think for the purpose of this podcast, definitely there are some obvious candidates that should fall into the leading prospects, and their price tags probably justify their positions and the manner that they do it, their connections. That's the easy thing for us to talk about today, but for the purpose of this, definitely interested in the ones that are slightly more under the radar, as you say, those horses that have won one bumper and then turn into those graded horses. A certain Altior featured in your 2014-2015 edition when he won his bumper at Market Raising by 14 lengths. It probably would have been difficult to separate him from some other bumper winners. It'd be great if we could go through your three from all of the potential novice hurdlers that we're going to look forward to seeing next season or this season as it begins to develop, that have won or ran in bumpers that you're most excited to see.
All right, I thought I would obviously a key piece of form for many will be the champion bumper, the Weatherby's champion bumper with Sir Gerhard and Kilcrupper. I thought we'd avoid that one for the purposes of this. So I'll start with a horse called Kintara, who is trained by Kim Bailey. He actually had won a point-to-point for Mel Rowley, and he was pretty impressive that day. And then he went to Warwick on soft ground and made all under David Bass, a typical aggressive David Bass ride, positive ride. He won by 17 lengths. Deep ground, might well have exaggerated it, but things like that as well. When he came up, there was already a horse in that field called Sherborne of Colin Tizard, who had impressed me with his run first time out. So to look like there was something to gauge the form on. A couple of horses did actually come out and win over hurdles in the spring. So even though we've only seen him win once, he was a wide margin winner, but there is a little bit of substance to that form. And I wouldn't be surprised if he developed into a very smart novice hurdler on deep ground this winter.
Yeah, fascinating horse. He's a proper national hunt bred horse by the great Cave Tara, who's obviously now retired from stallion duties. There's a few Cave Taras I've noticed in your book, but he's part of a very successful season that Kim Bailey had last year as well. One of his best seasons numerically for a long, long time. And it's been really interesting to see how positive he's been about a lot of his horses. He's a trainer that, despite him being around for a long time, is one to really, he's really sort of rejuvenated his team of late.
Yeah, he definitely has, and he's got a strong team. I was down there not too long ago after the book had actually gone to print, but I went down to see the horses. Kintara looked well. When we'll go on to touch about point-to-point horse I like of his that they've got from Ireland shortly. But yeah, he's got a nice strong team. And we've seen over the years, the past couple of years, that horses going from the novice hurdle division into the novice chase division. He's done well with the likes of Imperial Aura, Esport de Rome last year, and one on a bit of a side note, sorry for digressing, but a horse called the Edgar Wallace would be another to make a note of from Kim's yard this year, I would have thought.
Yeah, and he's also a horse that knows, he's also a trainer that knows how to get a horse to jump right. And that's the thing, you know, with bumper horses going from this grade to jumping hurdles, whichever, you always feel a lot of confidence behind a Kim Bailey a horse when they're making that transition.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And yeah, I don't think you've seen Kintara jump anyway. There's plenty when he's watched this point-to-point back, will have seen that he jumped well. And actually, I'd say one positive there as well. He was ridden really aggressively at Warwick, so he'd obviously he wasn't showing much signs of greenness. I wouldn't think at home if the way he was ridden, it wasn't like he was dropped out, but he was ridden in contrast. He was dropped out when he won his point-to-point, so I don't think he's a one-trick pony. So I think he's obviously going to be versatile in terms of how he needs to be ridden in the race. So I think he's got a lot going for him.
Yeah, he's done the traditional route of point-to-point bumper, now onto the novice hurdle rank. So that makes him quite in a on paper quite an obvious one, but because he's been sort of looked after, if anything, he seems to be a horse that they want to wait with and give a lot of time to. So really interesting Kintara for a very strong Kim Bailey team. Lady Doverton, who owns him, has also got lots of nice horses in those famous yellow and green colours. Okay, brilliant. So Kintara, the first one of the three that we've asked you to pick out, and another name that we need to add to our trackers.
I'd go with a horse called Skytastic. Again, I think Sam Thomas, he had a career best last year in terms of numbers, in terms of winners. He had a couple of good bumper winners. Good Risk at All won the listed bumper at Newbury on Betfair Hurdle Day, which is invariably a decent race. But Skytastic, he won twice. The race he won at Newbury on debut. At first, I wasn't sure whether he was just well positioned to win a good ground bumper. He was quite handy towards the fore in a slowly run race. So it was good to see him back it up at Doncaster, even though he showed signs of greenness. So I think he'll have matured over the summer. He's a big horse, got an unusual pedigree. Hasn't really got a jumps pedigree, what we'd look at, like you've just touched one for Kintara. But I haven't seen him in the flesh, but I believe, and seeing the pictures of him on screen, he looks sort of size and scope to go jumping. And that Newbury bumper has worked out really well. There's plenty of winners in behind, including the second Orby's Legend, who's obviously came out and won the Silver Trophy last Saturday. He's now rated 138. Mr. Glass was back in third. He won his next two bumpers and has entered up to make his debut over hurdles this weekend for Paul Nicholls. So I thought that was a strong race. I'd say he might well have been well positioned to win that one, but he backed it up under a penalty at Doncaster, albeit in a weaker event. But I think he's a nice horse to look forward to for Sam Thomas and Di Walters. Yeah,
he's a slightly different horse on paper to Kintara, and his pedigree being by way of light. He won a Group 1 over a mile in France. But we've seen horses come from lots of different backgrounds, and this is a horse that wouldn't have done the traditional point-to-point bumper route. And I actually read a quote from Sam Thomas saying he's not a bumper horse and is more of a stayer, and did well to win two bumpers. So it shows the sort of constitution of a horse like that, who could do something that he's probably not designed to do. Also in races that were really slowly run. I remember watching the Newbury win, and it was really quite testing to watch because they crawled for a long way, and without any hurdles to run, he had jump over. He just had to keep his ears pricked and battle back. So for you, are those qualities that you feel will make him even a better hurdler when he has something to aim at?
Yeah, as I say, he certainly looks like he's got the size and scope for it. Obviously, that was a slightly, just touching again on how I picked the horses out, not being able to go racing quite as much as I normally would have last year. So not seeing as many of these horses in the flesh paddock side and things. And obviously there was a time when we weren't ever able to visit yards and things. So certain horses this year have gone in the book. More so on seeing them on screen than actually haven't seen them physically in the flesh myself. But he looks like he's got the build to take and improve once he goes jumping obstacles. And again, that'd be something else I like. It's not just so much a horse. See, Quintara looked a lot more professional to me. He did run around a bit late on, but a horse like Skytastic, even second time out, say at Doncaster, he looked pretty green, I thought, in the closing stages. So he'd be also, I'd be expecting to take a big step forward for his summer break. And I do kind of like to look for a horse like that who looks like he's going to have the scope to improve mentally as well as physically over the summer.
Yeah, definitely. And Sam Thomas, who's just been on a bit of a roll, especially as last season, I think it was, and as you've written in your book, 26 winners from 92 runners compared to 21 winners across 5 seasons. That's mad. He's definitely a trainer that is really thriving in his new location. I think he's based in Wales now, and he's getting a lot of ammunition from some big owners. And obviously those famous blue and white colours sported by Skytastic are amongst many of his horses. So Sam Thomas, Gold Cup winning jockey, doing wonders now as a trainer. I think seems like just a trainer to follow in general.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's set up now with a Di Walters place, I believe. So a lot of Di's horses now in his care. So obviously a leading owner backing you like that's obviously going to help things in terms of numbers. But I thought it was a positive. He sent me a direct message on Twitter after I was posting all those videos to say when are you coming down to see the aeroplane. So I take it the Skytastic's is held in pretty high regard down there.
Oh, brilliant. I hope you take that up and we'll follow that through. That's definitely, you've got some great content whenever you go down. So yeah, I look forward to seeing what you can get out of Skytastic if you don't see him on the track beforehand. Okay, so that's 2 we've got. We've got Skytastic and Quintara. Your third of the 3 novice hurdlers to follow, please.
A horse called Go Dante, who we have only seen once when he won a Wincanton bumper for Ollie Murphy.
And obviously you've got quite a nice connection with Ollie Murphy anyway. Can you tell me a little bit more about your relationship with him and also the owner? Because I know that you spend a lot of time working with them in terms of race planning as well. So these are horses that you know specifically well, whereas Skytastic, you might not have seen him in the flesh. You definitely will with Go Dante.
Oh yeah, I've seen him plenty enough. Yeah, I'm friends with his owner, Barbara Hester. Go racing with her quite a lot. And fortunate enough to have a small input in the fact that she likes my input in terms of the opposition and looking at the form for her and potential race targets and things like that. So we spend a bit of time together at Ollie's. Obviously begun to know Ollie really well since he started training and came back from his days with Gordon. So yeah, it's lovely to be involved in just a small way. Obviously, we've seen yourself there at Aintree Hurdle Day when Bruno Storm was taking on Buzz. So, hopefully Go Dante this year is one who will definitely fly the flag for Barbara, all being well.
So what happened exactly as he had won very well first time out and then he was meant to be running in that Aintree bumper, but there was a setback. How is he now and where do you imagine his first target will be?
Yeah, he's fine. It wasn't anything serious at all. It was just a minor thing, really. It was just one of those things, awkward time, and after being declared on the Thursday morning, in hindsight, you never know. Those championship bumpers can take a lot out of horses, so you never know. It might have been a blessing in disguise. We were hopeful he'd run well, to be honest, because he's always pleased Ollie in everything he's done at home. He's gorgeous looking horse. He's got the pedigree. Obviously, Barbara paid a lot of money for him when she bought him as a store horse at the Derby sale. But we had always thought quite a bit of him at home. He pleased Ollie and Aidan in everything he'd done before. And so it wasn't really a surprise that he won on debut, but the pleasing element was the way that he'd done it. Just the camera angle was a bit, I even mentioned it in the book, the camera angle that Racing TV used that day was slightly unusual for Wincanton, but it kind of had a side-on look as he quickened up towards the top end of the home straight, and he put the race to bed, I thought, in a matter of strides. It wasn't a particularly strong bumper, but the fares did come out and win a small race of Fontwell afterwards. But again, sometimes, talking about the other horses, again, selecting for the book and things, you do want a bit of form substance, but sometimes you just have to go on visual impression over form, certainly with these once raced horses. As I say, I think if he'd have been pitched in a little bit deeper, I think I would have expected him to go and perform well. And the hope is that he obviously develops into a very smart novice hurdler this year. He's entered in the maiden hurdler at Cheltenham on Friday. Decision yet to be made whether he goes there. He'll be entered next week at Ayr and Bangor and possibly Wetherby as well. So I think there'll be discussions later on this afternoon and tomorrow morning. But he'll be out soon. He's ready to go. He's schooled. And I hope he gets the job done for his time, and then we can look at stepping him up in class.
Yeah, brilliant. I know, wasn't that the meeting that Ollie Murphy had Thomas Darby win so well as well?
Yes, it's the same race, yeah. Well, say whether he goes there depends on how much rain they get at Cheltenham, probably, to be honest, between now and Friday, because he'll definitely want a little bit of cut in the ground. But he's ready to go. He might want stepping up maybe 2.5 by the time the season's end, but he's certainly not a slow horse. He's not devoid of pace by any means. And since we've seen him win on debut, Barbara's actually been out on both the full sister, so she's only 3 and out in the field early for the minute, but hopefully she might be seeing in a bumper at the back end of the season.
Oh, brilliant. Well, a very nice family. Obviously, Dan is a listed winner over 3 miles, and the half sister as well was a high quality performer. Another son of Cave Tara, obviously responsible for Time Hill, Thistlecrack, lots of major names over different distances and different obstacles as well. So the world is his oyster for Go Dante. So brilliant. Go Dante, Skytastic, and Kintara, the 3 less obvious types to give everyone in amongst the leading prospects, but it looks like the majority, and you're better placed to tell me, but I think I counted at least 16 or 17 novice hurdlers to follow out of that 40. Is that about right?
Yeah, I think there's I think it's more than 20. I think I'm certainly leaned top heavy, which is always the way, to be honest. I say when I start splitting them up, I'll obviously look for try and include a couple of handicappers if I can. Novice chase division, which we'll go on to shortly as well. Again, something I like to focus on, see how much improvement a horse can make from switching from hurdles to fences. But yeah, definitely, it's top heavy with bump horses, and even one juvenile hurdler snuck in there, who we might touch upon later on.
Yeah, great. Look, these are horses which have the world at their feet at the moment, but Go Dante seems to be the one that we might see first of all of the 3 that we've picked out. So best of luck with him. As I say, moving on to novice chasers, is this a slightly trickier area to pin down? You know, there's the decisions change. Horses give novice chasing a go, it might not work out so well. Some horses, and interestingly, we're going to touch on a couple of them who have quite nice handicap hurdle marks that they could exploit as well. So knowing whether this is definitely their main aim is quite difficult to definitely decide. Yeah,
certainly. Yeah, I'll make a list of horses that I think, if it was my decision, I'd be sending chasing. You know, so that's the kind of starting point before I start contacting trainers or their representatives or owners, be it. And then obviously say that the 3 who have highlighted for you, we're going to touch on shortly, are all very lightly raced over hurdles, but that's actually something I like going forward over fences. I prefer a novice chase to be going chasing, if possible, after his novice hurdle campaign. That's the way I would always go. If I've got a horse who I think could reach the top as a chaser, I'd want him to go and chasing sooner rather than later. I think perhaps he can pick up bad habits in an extra season over hurdles sometimes, or as long provided that second season you don't run too often. I do like them to be quite unexposed as they go over fences. But yeah, then once you find out if it is the intention to go, again, that's another issue for putting them in the book, because obviously I don't want too many in the leading prospects who will run in the 2 mile division, say, so they're running against each other. Obviously, try and keep track of the level stakes profits, and hopefully at the end of the season the 40 can be in the green for the readers. But and then obviously separating them between ones who I think might run over 2 miles, ones might go down the intermediate route, and then obviously the stayers. And then, you know, although you've touched upon this, and we'll look at the across the C section shortly, and there are several Irish horses in the leading 40. So again, it's splitting them up, and you don't want too many clashes, because obviously that takes away the percentage strike rate and also the level stakes profit.